Hey, this is David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. I have a favor to ask before we get to today's conversation. We're doing our annual listener survey, and it would really help us out if you took it. And even if you took it last year, we'd be grateful if you took it again, because we can't use last year's data. Please go to citycast.fm/survey to take the survey. It's only 7 minutes long, we know, because we timed it. That's citycast.fm/survey. And when you take the survey, you'll also be eligible to win a $250 Visa gift card and CityCast swag, that great CityCast swag. citycast.fm/survey.
I recently got the chance to stay at the Inn at 500, located in the heart of downtown Boise. With complimentary drinks at check-in and spacious luxe penthouses and suites, it's an ideal spot for celebrations and your visitors. It was the perfect place for me and my husband to sneak away for a little staycation. We loved the cozy fireplace in our room and the balcony with gorgeous views of the city skyline, where we shared coffee in the morning. Ready to plan an unforgettable Boise stay? Book now at inn@500.com. Today on CityCast Boise. From cold plunges to IV therapies, the Treasure Valley has no shortage of health trends. So we're exploring what wellness really means for our community. Plus, we learned some simple ways to incorporate balance into our busy schedules. In this episode, we're sharing people's opinions on wellness, but this isn't meant to be taken as medical advice. It's Tuesday, January 28th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Joining me today are Nikki McGregor, founder of the GOL, or Gathering of Lightworkers Network, and Dr. Marissa Schupert, owner of Body Balancing Physical Therapy. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Nikki, I'm really curious because you founded GOL, so you really are tapped into a lot of different wellness practitioners or groups or modalities. What wellness practices or trends are you seeing gain traction in Boise right now? And have there been any major shifts recently or over the past couple of years?
Oh, absolutely. I think as a population as a whole, we are hungry for a better way of healing. And people are shifting more in these direct ways that we can naturally approach healing. But far as like a wellness as a whole, people are becoming more curious. They're ready to start working on themselves and kind of get down to that root. And so we're seeing that definitely in the Boise area, just that growth, more classes coming out. There's definitely so many different experiences, new businesses that are popping up. And so it's just a really exciting time to be on this journey, a wellness journey.
Marissa, I'd like to ask you, because you fairly recently moved to this area, what are some of the differences that you see in the Treasure Valley when it comes to wellness versus other places that you've lived and worked?
Yeah, for a little bit of context, I was raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, so definitely the Midwest. I think we're always in the top 10 for the fattest states, most unhealthy. And then I was in Texas. I was in Dallas for a couple of years. And in Boise, I was really surprised at how much people prioritize their health and wellness compared to those other places that I lived, in a really positive way. That's always been my value. So it's been really wonderful to be in a place where the patients that I'm working with want to get to the root cause of their health issues. And I think a lot of that has to do with how physical Boise is. People really have a lot of physical goals for their bodies. And if their wellness in any category is decreased, they may not be able to reach those goals or participate fully in the life that they want to live. And I think the life people want to live here is really the big difference that sets Boise apart. And as Nikki was alluding to, there is an increase in openness to alternative approaches in Boise that you don't see in the Midwest and you don't see as much in the South. So it really is this amazing community for practitioners who want to help people live the life that they desire and who are open to all sorts of approaches.
So it really seems like that appreciation of outdoors, being able to enjoy that, really becomes more of a holistic lifestyle for people here. Is that kind of what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. And people here are more connected to nature and more connected to earth than other places that I've lived. And I think that allows you to have more of a synergistic approach to your life and wellness. And you see yourself, maybe even subconsciously, as part of nature rather than outside of it. In Dallas, for example, you would have to drive 3, 6, 10 hours to get to some of the hiking that Boise has available. And I would routinely do that because it filled me up so much. But being in the place like the Treasure Valley, where it's right in our backyards, we really have this greater connection to the cycles and rhythms of nature. And I think that connects people to the cycles and rhythms of their body and life a little bit deeper.
Nikki, I want to get your take on this. Do you feel like wellness is something that people need to approach with the mindset that it's going to be this full lifestyle shift? Or can people cultivate wellness by just taking like maybe baby steps, just a couple little steps, or trying one or two things and then building on that?
Oh, 100%. Whenever we approach anything new, it should be baby steps. I think people can have those digestible, and really to make or break a habit, it takes 21 to 30 days. So I've trained people in the past on 30 days to healthy living. And that's where you're really going to see a shift in patterns, behavior patterns, cycles. We can do these really simple wellness behaviors and activities like meditation, breath work, sun gazing, being in nature. And those are all free. It doesn't cost anything to be able to utilize those really simple gifts that we have to be able to help recalibrate our system. And it helps us in such a huge portion of mind, body, spirit. My background, so just like Marissa, my background was in physical therapy. And the last 15 years I spent in a step-down unit from the hospital. And so that's indoors. Sometimes it's acute, but mostly subacute. And sometimes the best thing that patient needed was to go for a walk outside to help calm their nervous system and the stress that their body was going under. Maybe it was working in the community garden, getting their hands in the dirt, because that's so good for the soul, but it does help with the immune system. All these things start affecting all our hormone cycles, your insulin levels. Again, it goes back to the gear system. So we can think in a box, and I could have been in physical therapy like, okay, we go down and do our exercise and we're going to walk 50 feet. Or we look at somebody as a whole person, a whole being. And sometimes those simple things of just going outside for the walk, I found to be tremendously beneficial in their overall spectrum of reaching their goals.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
And I want to know from each of you, I'm curious, each of your perspectives, but I'll start with you, Nikki. What do you see as one of the most powerful small steps that someone can take to see improvements in their wellness? Like, what is that thing where you're like, man, when people do this, it just really does make a difference?
I think it all comes down to the breath. We're born with a breath and we pass to the next side with a breath. And so when we do simple things like box breathing and exhaling, changes our pH, it changes our mood, it calms our stress levels down. I would say if anybody starts with wellness, I think it really truly comes back to the breath and and centering us.
If I could piggyback off Nikki with breath, what I always tell my patients is that the breath is a reflection of our nervous system. So if we're holding our breath, we're taking shallow breaths, we have no awareness, we can bet our nervous system is heightened and we're in more of that fight or flight chronic state. However, what's amazing with the breath and why it's such a great starting point for people is you can also use your breath to change your nervous system by slowing things down, by breathing down into the abdomen rather than up into the chest. We can take our bodies from that fight or flight all the way back down into rest and digest or the parasympathetic nervous system. So it gives you that playing field to be able to make better decisions in your life and really start to approach those wellness goals from a little bit more of a grounded state.
And this might be showing my ignorance. What is box breathing?
Yeah. Box breathing is just a simple breath where you can inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds.
Oh, I didn't know that had a name.
Yes.
And it's so simple, and it's used even in a lot of mental health practices.
Yeah, and I can say from personal experience with box breathing, it can really take you from a crisis into a little bit more of a calm. So if you are really, an emotion's hitting you really hard, or, something's triggered you in a way you didn't expect, go to the bathroom somewhere, practice some box breathing, and what a great way to just bring yourself back a little bit.
I love that. So Marissa, I want to jump to you also. What is maybe that one small step that in your perspective just yields these great results and is maybe a great place to start if you're looking for a simple way to start wellness or approaching wellness?
Yeah, moving more is my number one step for people. And that does not have to be extensive. I think in our culture, we think of exercise and movement as this 1 hour block that we have to go to the gym for, and we have to do all of these particular exercises in order to get the benefits. When in reality, if you jump up and down 30 times, you're going to feel better. If you even just take a lap around your home, you're going to feel better. So whatever that form of movement is, and it's not wrong for that to be in the gym or for that to be a Pilates class, a spin class, moving more really sets the stage to make better decisions in other areas. If you're struggling with sleep, moving more is going to allow you to be more tired at the end of the day and have more restful sleep. If you're struggling with poor diet choices, knowing that you need to eat more whole foods, but you can't resist whatever it is, chocolate, wine. I just listed my two. Moving more really just allows your body to feel better and go into that decision making from a greater place. And within that, I think it's also really important for us to think about how we are addressing or how we're thinking about these wellness choices. Oftentimes with my clients, I see that they're making decisions to change their life for the wrong reason. They're coming from a lack of worthiness or a place of not liking themselves or liking their body. And your thoughts really do matter when it comes to these decisions. If we have negative thoughts about ourselves or we are putting that kind of energy into these decisions, we're not really going to reap the benefits of the wellness. We might get to a point where you lose weight or you can run farther or you're eating better, but you're still not going to feel good if you're not doing it out of love. So that really encapsulates the mind, body, spirit that both Nikki and I are talking about. The where is that decision coming from and why are you doing it is just as important as the decision itself.
No, and I would love to add to what Marissa's saying, like the intention behind why you're doing something, but also the mindset. A lot of us talk about mindset. Mindset's huge right now. But also coming at it as, do we have gratitude? When we tried to raise that, we find joy and gratitude in what we're doing with that intention. When you wake up in the day and you have gratitude, you could just say, good morning, day. It sounds very like you're reading a children's book, but when you put that energy behind what you're doing versus, oh, I have to do this as well.
No, and I think that is really powerful and does make a huge difference. I know there's been times in my life where, I'd go to the gym and I'd, text my friend, be like, oh, I'm at the gym. I have to atone for my food sins. Kind of, it was a punishment of sorts. And I approached it that way versus when I'm just like, no, I just enjoy seeing, what can I do a little better today? Or, can I lift a slightly heavier weight? Or, just like push myself a little bit as opposed to, I've really tried to focus more on this mindset of like, I'm just trying to be a little better. I'm trying to, how far can I push myself today and feel really strong or really fast or something like that, as opposed to like, I have to punish myself because I eat food.
Or what if we just love our bodies, and just give ourselves a hug and just be grateful that we are able to do all these things. I mean, how often do we have that, especially as females and body shaming our own selves? Like, how much do we have gratitude for the health that we are at today?
Yeah, I do just want to say, while that is where we want to get to, it's not easy. It's not
No.
easy to get to that point. You really have to go to a greater depth and work with yourself to be able to truly feel that gratitude and truly feel that love. And in some ways, that's even harder than showing up to the gym out of punishment. So it's where we need to approach things for true wellness, but it is not easy.
Absolutely.
And piggybacking off of that, our society definitely fixates on the physical health portion of wellness, especially if you are, female or femme presenting, or, that really becomes a very big focus and something that really becomes the focus of wellness. But that's not, as you brought up, Nikki, that's not the only part of wellness. What role does mental and emotional wellness play in the bigger picture, in the holistic picture? And how can people find a way to work on those aspects of wellness too?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind when it really comes to that emotion, I mean, we've talked about getting out in nature, but it comes down to community. It's coming together as community is so important. Like you just said, Lindsay, I texted my friend, right? Having that accountability, but also having that partner and team and cheerleaders in life. I think that's something that's really important with the emotional, going through COVID and the divide. And it was a divide on so many different levels. That's part of why we created GOL, Gathering of Lightworkers, GOL Network. The reason why we created it was to come together, to break bread, come together as community. And we are coming up on our 3-year anniversary. And what I have witnessed is massive growth in people believing in themselves on a personal level, but also growing exponentially professionally as well. And it comes with the foundation of community.
Yeah, and I would say we're almost asking the wrong question. We're looking at wellness as this physical or emotional and mental side when we know now they're all one. They cannot be separated. And that's what I continue to see in my personal practice with my clients and patients.
And I think another maybe limiting factor in our day-to-day life is time. Like everybody is stretched thin, everybody is racing and hustling and just trying to get through their day. So what is someone who's like, this sounds great, I'd like to start having more wellness or incorporating more wellness practices, but I'm busy. I'm just my day is full. So what is a way that maybe someone who doesn't have a lot of time could make space for focusing on wellness in their daily life, especially where we live, where there are so many maybe parks or the green belt, or is there some way that maybe they could incorporate the outdoors into that?
Yeah, I would say focusing on how you're doing what you're doing. So without changing anything you're doing in your day-to-day life, what is your breath like as you're in the car going to pick up your kids from school? Are you scarfing down your food in the morning? Are you not stopping and taking a lunch? Are you, answering emails while you are trying to eat? Whatever it might is, can we cultivate a little more presence with those activities and focus on doing one thing at a time, realizing what your breath is? That way you're not having to add anything in. you're not really subtracting anything. You're just changing what you're doing in order to better serve your body and nervous system.
I love that. I love that. And I'm going to say I am a busy mom and I am a master multitasker.
Uh-oh.
So as Marissa's saying that, I have to intentionally time block myself on my calendar because my kids have activities, and running, doing business and just having life. But I do have to time block. So I think that's something that, if we put a level of priority to this, even if it's 5 minutes, and like what Marissa says, you're very intentional and very present, even for 5 minutes or a 15-minute walk, whatever it is, just start there. And then making sure that's on your calendar, that you create that habit.
Thank you so much. I think these are some great first steps or, really usable bite-sized chunks of tips and tricks to start really incorporating wellness practices or being mindful or thoughtful about how we're going about our day, how we can maybe make our schedule or what we're doing work for us a little better. So I thank you both for taking time to come on the podcast and share your expertise with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thanks for having me as well. Appreciate it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review so other people can find us. We'll be back tomorrow morning with a look at Idaho's marijuana laws and whether they might be changing. See you then.